The rumble of a chainsword, the roar of a bolter, and the relentless advance of Tyranid swarm, it can only be Warhammer 40k. And after years of anticipation, I finally got the chance to dive into a hands-on trial of Space Marine 2, the sequel to the beloved Visceral action game. This isn't just a graphical upgrade, it feels like a true evolution, and here are my initial thoughts and impressions after spending a few hours in the ceramite boots of a Space Marine. Right off the bat, Space Marine 2 nails the atmosphere. The grimdark aesthetic is beautifully rendered, depicting war-torn landscapes and Gothic architecture in exquisite detail. The level design, even in the pre-release trial, felt expansive and varied, moving from claustrophobic trenches to wide-open battlefields. But beyond the visuals, what really resonated was the commitment to the lore, the weight of the power armor, and the guttural chants of the Astartes, and the sheer brutality of the combat. It all feels authentically Warhammer 40k. The most striking element, however, is the sheer volume of gore. This isn't a sanitized depiction of war, it's a brutal, visceral ballet of bolter fire and chainsword gnashing. Tyranids explode in showers of chitin and ichor, and even lesser enemies feel satisfyingly impactful when dispatched. Developers have shied away from the grim reality of combat in this universe, and it's all the more immersive for it. The heart of the Space Marine experience has always been its combat, and Space Marine 2 takes it up a notch. You feel like a walking tank, able to barrel through weak enemies and engage in heavy melee with the more formidable foes. The chainsword feels as crunching and satisfying as ever, and the bolter, with its iconic roar and devastating punch, is an indispensable tool. The trial showcased a wider range of weapons than the original game, allowing for different approaches to combat. While the bolter remains a staple, plasma guns, melta weaponry, and even more specialized melee armaments were all available, each with its own unique impact and feel. Switching between ranged and melee combat felt fluid, enabling a powerful and adaptable playstyle. However, it's not just about button mashing. The combat requires a tactical approach against larger hordes, forcing you to use movement and cover to your advantage. Sticking in the open against a wave of Tyranids is a quick route to oblivion, highlighting the importance of planning your engagements. Right from the opening moments, Space Marine 2 throws you into the thick of the action. You're playing as, of course, a Space Marine, a genetically enhanced super soldier clad in power armor, and the game doesn't shy away from showcasing that power. Movement is weighty and impactful, every footstep reverberating through your controller. Melee combat is visceral, with each swing of a chainsword or power fist connecting with a satisfying crunch. This is not a game of finesse, it's a brutal ballet of destruction where you wade through hordes of enemies, leaving a trail of carnage in your wake. The combat feels like a significant step up from the original Space Marine. The controls are tighter, the animation's more fluid, and the sheer volume of enemies on screen at times is generally impressive. I found myself constantly switching between ranged and melee, utilizing the bolter's devastating fire to thin the ranks before charging in with my melee weapons. The system encourages this aggressive style of play, rewarding constant forward momentum. Visually, Space Marine 2 is a spectacle. The environments are grim and atmospheric, from war-torn battlefields to Gothic architecture crumbling under siege. The attention to detail on the Space Marine models themselves in remarkable, with each plate of armor meticulously rendered. The hordes of Tyranids, the primary foe in the trial, also look terrifyingly organic and numerous, making each encounter feel generally desperate. The sound design is equally impressive. The roar of the bolter, the screeching of the alien hordes, and the bone-jarring impact of melee blows all combine to create a powerful immersive experience. The music, while not always prevalent, swells at appropriate moments, further amplifying the epic scale of the conflict. The Tyranids, as always, are the perfect antagonists for the Space Marines. They swarm in terrifying numbers, forcing you to adopt a run-and-gun strategy, constantly adapting to the shifting tide of the invasion. The variety of Tyranid units in the trial is impressive, from the basic termagants to the more imposing warriors and even hints of larger, more terrifying creatures. The AI, while not incredibly complex, is effective in its overwhelming numbers. The Tyranids swarm and flank, forcing you to stay on your toes. The overall feeling is one of the constant pressure, a never-ending struggle against the tide of the alien horde. There is also the concern about the long-term gameplay loop. While the combat is undeniably fun, I'm keen to see if the game can offer enough variety in missions and enemy types to maintain engagement over a long campaign. The trial offered a good taste, but only time will tell if it can keep the momentum going. My initial impressions of Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 are overwhelmingly positive. It delivers on the promise of being a power fantasy, allowing players to truly feel like a hulking Space Marine, tearing through the enemies of the Imperium. The visceral combat, impressive visuals, and captivating sound design all combine to create an engaging and thrilling experience. While there are few rough edges that need smoothing out, the potential here is undeniable. If the final game can build on this foundation, Space Marine 2 could be a must-play for fans of the 40k universe and action games alike. This is just the initial skirmish, and I'm eagerly awaiting the chance to don my power armor again and face the horrors of the 41st millennium. The Emperor protects, and I think this game might just deliver.